Hey, what's up, everybody? Yellow Turtle here with my co-host, Beef. Welcome to another episode of the LUKSOfam podcast, brought to you by KEEZ. The LUKSOfam podcast is meant to be a short and informational show where we provide some takes on the latest LUKSO news in the space. Today, we will be doing a bit of a different show. We're going to be explaining how to buy LUKSO, how to buy LYXe and transfer it over to LYX. We've noticed some community members asking for this type of information, so we decided to put it in a digestible form for you all on the podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're interested in diving deeper into these topics, make sure to hit us up on Common Ground. But before we get into all this, let's hear a word from our sponsors over at LEEQUID.
LEEQUID is a liquid staking solution purposely built for the LUKSO blockchain. Users can stake LYX tokens and, in return, earn receipt SLYX tokens redeemable one-to-one for the deposited LYX. LEEQUID notably offers flexibility, allowing users to opt in or out of staking at any moment via the protocol's liquidity pool. This feature removes the potentially extensive wait times typically associated with traditional staking methods. With the support of advisors and multi-signatories from the LUKSO team, LEEQUID is steadfast in its commitment to achieving decentralization from the beginning, underlining transparency and trust. Following a thorough audit by consensus, LEEQUID is set to launch in October, integrating suggestions to ensure a seamless and secure user experience. Don't forget to follow LEEQUID on Twitter to stay updated on opportunities for earning passive rewards and contributing to the security of the LUKSO blockchain.
All right, Beef, how are you today?
What's up? Pretty good. Just hanging out in the Common Ground LUKSO ecosystem launch. So that's been a lot of fun, watching all that unfold and all the interactions everybody's having. Have you been checking that out too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yesterday was amazing. The, quote, pub crawl between the different Common Ground communities was really fun. It was really awesome to see how smooth the launch really was. I think that the guys at Common Ground were kind of impressed themselves. I'm sure they expected a few hiccups here and there throughout the day, but overall, switching from ecosystem to ecosystem, having 40, 50, 60 plus people on a call, multiple people on stage talking, sharing screen with their cameras on. Overall, very minimal issues. So it was really nice to see that. And I'm sure the guys over at Common Ground are pretty thrilled about what happened and are excited for tomorrow, which is the LUKSO Hackathon, Build Up #2 Hackathon award ceremony. I'm sure you're also excited about that. What are your thoughts before we dive into how to buy LUKSO?
I'm super hyped for tomorrow. I can't wait to see the projects that the team selects as the winners. It's going to give us some good highlights to check out first before kind of checking more in depth now everything else that's kind of gotten any sort of acknowledgement from the team. So yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see which projects the LUKSO team found valuable, which code bases they thought were clean, well put together, and innovative using the LUKSO standards. And then after that, I'm excited to learn more about these projects and have them on podcasts, make videos, walkthrough videos about what they're doing, everything like that. So yeah, I'm just very excited. I think we're going to start to see a ramp up in people building and the word spreading about LUKSO, about these cool projects. So I'm very excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you want to dive in and try and lay this out for our community members who might be a little confused about how to buy LUKSO?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, this is meant to be an informational video on the ins and outs of how to buy LUKSO, right? How to get into the LUKSO community and start your journey. So yeah, why don't you kick us off, Beef?
Sure. So there's actually two tokens right now currently for LUKSO. There's the native LYX token, which has a few different exchanges that are smaller, based outside of the United States, that have the capability of allowing Americans and some other countries the capability of buying. So if you're outside of the United States and some other select countries, then you would be able to KYC and register and buy things off of these exchanges. The biggest one right now is KuCoin. And then I think, I don't know if Gate.io is bigger than KuCoin, but Gate.io and KuCoin are two of the bigger ones. There's a couple other ones, but they're smaller and don't have as much liquidity compared to even KuCoin or Gate.io. So if you're outside of the United States and you can KYC successfully for these two and you trust them, you should buy your LYX straight from them. Otherwise, there is kind of a different route you can go, which is the route I personally am going, as well as lots of other people I know, which is going through a more decentralized option. There is a couple different decentralized options, though, one of which we talked about, KEEZ actually talked about recently. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so one decentralized option that one of our KEEZ community members, Annie, core contributor at KEEZ, actually wrote a guide on last week is RocketX Exchange. I personally haven't used it, so I don't want to guide anyone or lead anyone in the wrong direction. It is a legitimate decentralized exchange, and if you're interested in learning how to participate and use the exchange, make sure to head over to keys.space and check out our guide section on our website where you can find how to purchase LUKSO tokens using RocketX Exchange. There's a step-by-step guide. It's fairly straightforward, simple UI that not simple UI, the typical UI that we're used to in the crypto space of connecting your wallet. It accepts wallets such as MetaMask, Coinbase, Trust, Binance, and then you're able to swap your a stablecoin, other types of ERC20 tokens that you might hold in your wallet for actual LYX, which is the LUKSO native token, and not the LYXe, which is the Ethereum token. So you're actually able to swap for the LUKSO native token, which you aren't able to do in many other places at this moment. But RocketX actually allows you to purchase the native token or swap for the native LUKSO token, which is pretty awesome. The only other exchange that I know of that does that at this moment is KuCoin, but as we've talked about, it's a little tough for people outside or inside the United States to purchase things from KuCoin. So
Yeah, I think that Rocket Exchange is an interesting option. I believe they're also like open to trading like a bunch of different tokens. I think even Bitcoin for LYX. It's a different kind of protocol. It's interesting. Again, I haven't personally used it, much like you. I've just heard about it. I prefer using the Ethereum based option, which is something I'm going to break down now. So, if you're not familiar with the history of Luxo, when LUKSO launched, they did something called a reversible ICO. And what that was it allowed the opportunity for people who bought into the ICO to return the tokens that they were receiving to get their money back. So almost like a refund period where you could evaluate the movement of the token and make sure that you were satisfied before the time period closed. This was kind of a revolutionary step. It made it feel much different than like the ICO boom where all kinds of different projects were launching ICOs and lots of them rugged. LUKSO was trying to do this the right way to offer like a feeling of trust to the people actually buying into the vision and buying into the narrative. So fast forward, this token actually got a liquidity pool on Uniswap. LYXE, that little e stands for Ethereum. So there is a pool right now of LYXE in Uniswap, and these tokens can be migrated one to one for LYX without the E via the official migration page. So after you buy them, you'll be able to migrate them to mainnet one to one. There will be gas fees for doing that though, so keep that in mind that you'll have to pay the Ethereum gas to actually proceed with the migration. Fun fact, the migration process has you actually interact with something on the back end that is a universal profile. So when it receives your LYXE, it's doing certain permissions or it has limited permissions and functionalities to give you your intern LYX on LUKSO mainnet. So we'll make sure to link the migration page so that you can see. Make sure that you're always using the proper one via the established legitimate LUKSO pages, like either socials or the LUKSO website itself has links there as well. You want to make sure that you're doing this the correct way. Always double check because you could be migrating with a scam potentially if you're not clicking in the correct official places.
and if
Um,
you are looking for any type of walkthrough on how to actually bridge your LYXe to LYX, there is another video which we'll link down below which we created, which is just a simple, quick walkthrough on how to use the migration site.
Awesome. So just some other things I wanted to highlight about LYXe in particular is it did come with a 4-year migration window when they launched mainnet. So currently we have about 3.5 years left. The starting supply of LYX was determined by the Genesis validators to be 42 million. However, that is including the unmigrated LYXC in there. So after those 3.5 years, if people do not migrate, that LYXC will be locked out of the supply and we'll move on without it. So potentially we could lose some people, kind of like how Bitcoin has over the years. If people aren't paying attention or they've lost access to those coins, they will not be in the supply of LYX after about 3.5 more years. What's really cool about LUKSO too, just talking about tokenomics before we keep going, is LUKSO mainnet started with EIP 1559 already active. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's pretty much when Ethereum switched to proof of stake. It's a system where the validators get tips and then the fees will get burned. So there will be a certain amount of LUKSO that gets burned every time something is transacting, which over time, as we get more and more activity on chain, that allows us to become deflationary.
Right. And I think it's important to note here, especially because this is a video more geared towards new members in the LUKSO ecosystem. The reason why LUKSO is a proof of stake chain with EIP 1559 already implemented is because LUKSO is a direct fork from the Ethereum chain. We are running essentially an Ethereum 2.0. The only difference is that LUKSO has a different set of standards, more standardized standards that allow people to build more complex and useful DApps in the space, I would say.
Yeah, kind of taking some of the limitations off of what Ethereum has available. So, okay, so you've taken the pink pill and you want to buy some LYXE. What do you do now? There's those two options, one of which that I already mentioned, which is Uniswap. And then there's another option, which could potentially make you eligible for an airdrop. So first, I'll go through the option of Uniswap. So if you're familiar, and if you're not, I'll kind of explain. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange. So it's like a Coinbase or any of those other centralized exchanges, but it's governed by like a set of rules so that there really is limited interactions with humans. There is no KYC required. You're eligible to swap a certain amount of, most of the time it's Ethereum, but you can also do stable coins. And then in return, you'll get a different token that you're interested in swapping for. So what do you do now? The first thing that you would do is you'd buy Ethereum on your traditional centralized exchange. Then after you've bought the certain amount that you're interested in swapping for, you would transfer it to your MetaMask wallet or a Coinbase wallet. There's lots of videos online on how to create a MetaMask wallet, and I'm sure Coinbase has support on how to do those if you're not familiar. But I do want to say when you're starting to use decentralized wallets like MetaMask, you will be responsible for certain things like seed phrase, which LUKSO is trying to fix this as well, but that's a whole nother conversation. And you could see any of the other videos we've produced before this. We do kind of talk about that. But once you've transferred that Ethereum to your MetaMask or Coinbase wallet, you'll use the browser that's inside that wallet. And then you'll go to Uniswap. We'll put a link for Uniswap in the description section. And then once you're in the browser, you'll enter the app or the DApp, and you'll see the interface. And it'll say something like you pay, and then you'll see that it says Ethereum. You'll select how much Ethereum you want to swap, and then you'll see a section that says select token. So to make sure that you're selecting the right token, you're going to have to do one additional step. So in another browser, you can go to CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko and then search for LYXE. And most of the time it says LYXE and in brackets old. They just added the old, but that's because now we're using LYX. And then when you're looking at, we're using LYX for mainnet. So when you're looking at the information for LYXE, You can either copy the contract address that's on CoinMarketCap, or you can open up that Etherscan link and then copy the token address from that specific Etherscan location where it breaks down the token information. We can also link CoinMarketCap and Etherscan in the description. So after you've copied that token contract, it should be like 18 decimals. Go back to your Uniswap page, and then under the select token, paste that. And then after you've pasted that, it should say LYXe. From there, you're kind of set up in the proper framework because you've said how much Ethereum you want to swap, and then it should preview how much LYXe you will receive. So now when you click swap, you'll have to approve that Uniswap itself can take that Ethereum from you. And then after you approve it, you'll be able to actually go through the swap. So the approval should be like a small gas fee, shouldn't be too much, but the bigger gas fee of the two should be the actual swap. And I do want to say swapping in general and doing transactions in general on Ethereum can be expensive depending on the congestion of the network at the moment of swapping. So this is kind of like a pain point of the current structure of Ethereum.
Well, I'll just say here that obviously this is a pretty convoluted process, right? Like this is way more steps than we'd like to see, and this is one of the issues that we've been talking about in the space since the very beginning. So we understand that as a new person in the space, that this might be intimidating. It's a little scary, and we're hoping to find ways to mitigate these issues in the future. I promise that it's not as scary once you do it as it may sound, or as long as this episode is. Purchasing ETH on your Coinbase account and swapping it to a MetaMask, and then connecting that MetaMask to a Uniswap, and then connecting that back to the bridge is one too many steps. It's four too many steps, to be honest, but that's the reality that we live in right now. And hopefully these things will change in the future, but that's speculation. So let's continue on, and let's address the second way to actually purchase LYXe.
Yeah. So the other option, which to me is probably the easier of the two options, so this is the one I'm personally recommending to my friends. I do want to caveat this by saying if you do this method that I'm going to describe, you may not get as good of a rate, an exchange rate, as you would if you went to Uniswap. Now, that's not to say that you're going to get super ripped off or anything, but I feel like MetaMask also takes a little bit extra in fees for themselves when they do this for you. Oops, I kind of leaked it there. MetaMask is the next method I'm going to talk about. So, MetaMask. There's been lots of speculation over the past 2 years regarding MetaMask and their swap feature. So, this method is easier though, because all it would require for you to do is to buy your Ethereum off a centralized exchange and then transfer it to your MetaMask. Once you're inside the MetaMask, there is a native swap feature. And this is kind of what the hot topic has been. Will MetaMask decentralize? I believe they will, especially because Joe Lubin, who's from Consensus, who's heavily invested in MetaMask, and they may even partially own MetaMask, has gone on Up Only. Hilarious, right? Up Only, Universal Profiles. That's not the name of the show, though. Has gone on Up Only, and he said that MetaMask would decentralize. That means that there's going to be a DAO token. So we don't know what the criteria will be when MetaMask rewards these users. Will it be like the frequency of swapping, the volume of swapping, other consensus project interactions? I know that I did a deep dive personally, and I saw that Coin has connections to consensus, and potentially if you're active in contributing on Gitcoin and making donations and voting on things, potentially that could be a factor as well. Bottom line is we don't know. But if you go ahead and you use that native swap feature once you've got your Ethereum from your centralized exchange and then swap for LYXe, again, that old contract, you will still have to copy and paste that token address to be safe. You should try that. You can type in LYXe and something will propagate. Personally, I would rather make sure that I'm selecting the right one and paste that contract address. Again, you'll approve the swap, and then you'll go through the swap, and then that'll be it. It's I promise that doing this is a much easier experience if you do not have any experience in general doing these sort of things. Plus, it gets you in the running for that swap airdrop. Not financial advice. I don't know 100% that this is going to happen, just based off of things I've seen on that interview, and just kind of thinking about it rationally with how other projects have decentralized. I think that there will be an airdrop, but that's not official.
Yep, and I'd just like to say again, none of this is financial advice, but these are just some options you have for buying LYXe and then transferring that over into LYX as well. These are options that some of us have tested, and some of us, at least in the KEEZ community, have tested. So we feel confident telling you about them. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed the content of this episode, please let us know. Hit us up on Common Ground. If you'd like to see more instructional walkthroughs and things of that nature, like we've done in the past on our YouTube, please let us know and hit us up with ideas. We'd love to create these types of videos for the community and just educate as many people as we can about the Pink Pill Nation. So, yeah, Beef, if you have anything else to add, please do. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to sign us off.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to just say I did probably ramble a little bit. If you weren't sure or wasn't clear and you'd like some help, hit us up in the KEEZ Common Ground or the KEEZ Discord, whichever is most convenient for you, and I can try and help you out. Yeah, but as always, remember, none of this is financial advice. It's just a couple of dudes talking about what we love.
Peace.